Let's talk to Angela Morabito. She's a former Department of Education press secretary and a two-time graduate from Georgetown University. Angela, good to have you with us.
Hi, Vince. Thanks for having me on.
If you could, just summarize your understanding of this Ilya Shapiro saga.
Well, the one-line answer there is that Georgetown is off the mark and it's about to cave to the woke mob. But the larger story is that Ilya Shapiro actually advocated for someone to be nominated to the open Supreme Court seat. He said that Sri Srinivasan should be the pick. Said he has a great, resume, a really great history in terms of being a jurist there in D.C. He's leading the federal appeals court at the moment. And because he expressed this in not a great way and said, just because the president has said he would pick a black woman, may mean we get someone who, in Shapiro's view, isn't as great as the judge that he wanted to be appointed. People interpreted that to be racist, to be white supremacist, even though the guy he's endorsing is an Indian American man. There's no logic there. But they put a lot of pressure on Georgetown. Georgetown appears to be caving by saying administrative leave, he can't start his job, and we're going to investigate. Potentially, this looks like they could fire him over something that is, on the whole, not a harmful opinion.
I don't know how they walk back from it. So again, as you put so well just now, let me just read the tweet so people have an understanding of what we're talking about. His initial tweet said, objectively best pick for Biden is Sri Srinivasan, who is solid, progressive, and very smart. Even has identity politics benefit of being first Asian Indian American, but alas, doesn't fit into last intersectionality hierarchy, so we'll get lesser black woman. Thank heaven for small favors, ? And then in a follow-up tweet, Shapiro wrote, because Biden said he's only he said, black women for SCOTUS, his nominee will always have an asterisk attached. Fitting that the court takes up affirmative action next term. Okay, so unless you interpret this in the worst possible light, now, it's pretty obvious, I think, to the average reader that what he's saying is that there is an objectively great pick that Biden just passed over. So as a result, any subsequent pick he makes to include a, quote, black woman will be less than the one that I think is the best. Do I have that right?
That was exactly Shapiro's argument. You hit the nail on the head. He's also going to a larger legal principle here, right, when he says that we shouldn't be making our Supreme Court picks, President Biden, based on race and sex. It's actually against the law. It's against equal opportunity employment law to limit positions of employment anywhere. I don't care if you're working at a Smoothie King or the Supreme Court. You can't limit who the position is open to based on race or sex or other protected characteristics. Lawyers should know this, and Shapiro is a lawyer. So it's not a shocking opinion for him to have at all. What is shocking is that Georgetown isn't recognizing this, because in the past they've actually let professors say way worse and stood by their right to speak freely. Vince, you may remember back in 2018, there was another Georgetown professor named C. Christine Fair, who, when during all the Kavanaugh stuff, all that was going on, she tweeted about castrating the corpses of GOP senators. And I know that sounds shocking, and that's what she wanted, and the school stood by her right to speak freely. But apparently that right only exists for some people and not for Ilya Shapiro. So riddle me that one. There's no logic in it.
The whole thing is so crazy. And of course it's not hypocrisy, it's hierarchy. It's about just defending the interests of the elite left at all costs and giving bad faith interpretations the moment that somebody strays from the orthodoxy in order to destroy them and, again, remove any diversity of opinion from within the institution. So let me just read from Bill Trainor's notes today. This is the dean of Georgetown Law who put out this letter today. And it's just disgusting, actually. He says, dear members of the Georgetown law community, over the past several days, I've heard the pain and outrage of so many at Georgetown Law, and particularly from our black, he capitalizes, female students, staff, alumni, and faculty. Ilya Shapiro's tweets are antithetical to the work that we do here every day to build inclusion, belonging, and respect for diversity. He goes on to say that he has placed Ilya Shapiro on administrative leave pending an investigation into whether he violated our policies and expectations on professional conduct, non-discrimination, and anti-harassment, the results of which will inform our next steps. And then he suggests that Ilya Shapiro had engaged in, quote, racial stereotyping about individual capabilities and qualifications, and that this is a pernicious force in our society and our profession. So when you hear all of this in the same exact letter, Angela, what this suggests to me is not that they're about to conduct an investigation, but they're about to conduct a kangaroo court. They've already reached their decision here. They think that Ilya Shapiro is a bigot, and they're going to treat him that way. How could they walk back from the position that Bill just advanced in that letter?
Well, the only way they could walk it back is by admitting that their assumptions were wrong. And if there's one thing I think we all know about progressives in the left these days is that they will never have that kind of humility to admit that their assumptions are wrong.
No.
And look, Georgetown's my alma mater, and it breaks my heart to say this, but they have lost their way. You have this dean talking about inclusion and fairness. If you want to be inclusive and fair, ask the president to pick the best person for the Supreme Court, no matter who they are or what they look like. That's fair. That's inclusive. That's promoting excellence. And whoever's the best, no matter who they are, what they look like, that's the person who should get the nomination.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like the dean is just ignoring what those words mean.
It's nuts. And so Ilya Shapiro, who knows what the future holds here, but one of the features here is that Ilya it sounds like a decent person. I don't know Ilya. So all I know is just by reputation and his public presence. But he apologized for messing up the tweet and suggested he wasn't trying to convey anything sort of negative the way that his critics took it. But they didn't use that as a way to reconcile with him. Like, oh, sorry, okay, now we understand what you meant, and sorry that there was a misunderstanding. No, nothing like that. They used it to crucify him. So when somebody comes out and says, hey, I'm sorry for wording this in such a way that you misinterpreted my intent, we don't take that as an opportunity for healing and growth. No, the left uses it as an opportunity to say, you know what? There's now blood in the water, and it's proof that you're a bigot that needs to be destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before, Vince, that wokeness is a religion without any concept of forgiveness. It demands complete compliance, and if you mess up, that's the end of you. So this bad faith interpretation of a tweet is one thing, but the unwillingness to understand, to hear this guy out and to say, hey, maybe he was totally well-intentioned and he just expressed something in a way that lended itself to a really awful interpretation. No, there's no sense of, hey, maybe we can understand people. It's all about getting points on the board against people you perceive to be your enemy. It's horribly sad. It's no way to run a school. It's no way to run a country either.
What role does the press play in this story?
They dumped fuel on the fire. I know that's a very, very short answer, but that's exactly what they did. As soon as they had something, a screenshot of a tweet where they could say, take it out of context and say, oh, look, this guy's awful. Look, this guy's a racist. Look, this guy's terrible. They jumped on it. And like you use the phrase blood in the water. I think that is the perfect metaphor for this, because you think about people in the media just kind of circling around, looking for something to bite into. They're looking for their next prey. Well, this was an easy thing for them to jump on, even though they were wrong, even though he has explained his position and it is very clearly not racist.
Also,
he's supporting merit. He's not harming anybody.
Also, there's sort of a warning sign about how dumb the news cycle is about to become as we go through this confirmation process. Again, Joe Biden hasn't even named the nominee yet, but once he does, all substantive criticisms that may exist, including the one that Ilya Shapiro just laid out, all substantive criticisms that may exist are going to be construed in their worst possible light. Like, in other words, just merely critics of whoever Biden picks on ideological grounds are going to be cast as bigots because of the identity politics component to this nomination.
Of course. If any other company in America said, they advertised a job and they said, we're only going to hire someone who's a certain race and a certain sex, they would be held liable for that. They would be investigated. They would probably go to court for it, too,
yes.
Because it's not legal. And it's not legal because this country recognized a long time ago that doing that is morally wrong.